Welcome everyone to Autogefühl, your number one resource for in-depth car reviews. This is Thomas, today for you with the all-new Kia Sorento. The third generation of this SUV, which is kind of between the compact and the full SUV size. So it's actually quite interesting how rather unique it is in the market position. And they have really worked a lot on this car, and it stands for a lot of surprises we'll find out today in our review. So just to give you a basic overview, this car has been running first from 2002 until 2009 in the first generation, then 2009 until 2014. Not quite a long time, and only in 2012 there was the latest facelift. Overall and worldwide there has been over 2 million of Kia Sorento sold yet. The sister model of the Hyundai Santa Fe, so they are sitting on the same platform. But they're actually a little bit different, of course, from the outside and also from the inside. So let's look at the all-new model here today with the exterior, interior and of course with the driving experience. And I'm very excited that you joined us, so let's go. The biggest design change in the front is the new front grille, and I think it's very interesting because it has this technological dot structure here. I think it's very unique and it looks kind of high class. I really want to convey this premium feeling here already from the outside. And the Kia designers, they thought about a street tiger, they said, and that they wanted to display. Well, actually, I don't really see a street tiger here, but I think it's still kind of beautiful. Also, they got new headlights you can see here, and overall it's a kind of clean design, I think, and therefore it's, in my opinion, a job well done. Or what do you think, guys?
From the side profile, we already see with our own eyes that the car is longer but flatter. Actually just 1.5 centimeters flatter, but 9.5 centimeters longer, to a total length now of 4.78 in meters. That more differentiates the car now to the smaller Kia Sportage, and that's utterly needed because you have to differentiate your models inside the range. So, and furthermore, what do you see from the design? It's not this kind of SUV off-road style anymore. It's rather now a mix of van and SUV because the car is longer and flatter. And a lot of manufacturers are experimenting with that kind of design features at the moment. I also want to know what you think about this mix of the van SUV style.
Rear perspective now, I think it doesn't look too bulky. We got also a quite nice redesign here in the rear. It's a rather conservative choice here in the rear comparison to the front grille. So I just think it looks standard, it looks okay, doesn't arouse too much attention here in the rear, but I think overall it's still fitting to the car. You see here we got a quite huge rear wing here, which makes this kind of van style here as well. You see, overall the car has lost a little bit of its SUV style and got a little bit into a van direction. I think it's not bad because you got a lot of space there on the inside, and I think they want to position the car a little bit differently than the predecessor then. But I think it's very exciting. I want to hear your opinion about it, about this SUV van mix, what you think about it, because recently a lot of manufacturers went into this way. We also will soon review the all-new Renault Espace, which is actually the van. It was actually, but now it's also something kind of different. So the manufacturers are experimenting a little bit with that at the moment, and I think it will be very exciting how this will actually be successful or not on the market in future. Let's move to the interior. We here got the keyless system, so I can open it right now, but you can just press this button as I got the key in my pocket. By the way, the key, you always want to see the key. It's an extra special key for the Sorento. It's broader than the usual keys, and I think it also looks quite good, also quite solid in material. So I can now just press this button. You see the automatic mirrors are flipping out. And we can open it, and I think just kind of solid impressions also when the door is being closed and opened. It always adds to this quality feeling. And then you can get inside and see a lot of details already. For example, the inside. Here is the spirit trim level, middle trim level with something popping up. And you see here the buttons, for example, the memory knobs for the seats, or also the hinges here at the door. All looks pretty good. Also the knobs. So quality-wise, just from the haptical feeling, I think I'm very, very keen on that one. This one here is, by the way, well, not very hard, but also not soft plastic. This one could actually be improved also on the upper part. But you have to think about, we start at 35,000 euros here. So we're not in the premium segment. However, this very car is about 45,000 in the equipment right now. So we already got the leather seats in here. You know, I would never go for leather seats anymore as soon as I've seen how leather is actually produced. And however, here we got it. You see, this one is also hard plastic here on the inside, but everything else, just from the visual side of the seat, is very good. Also the quality impression, everything is kind of solid here as well. There's also the vented seats for this one here available. Adjusting the seats works here at the lower part. For example, putting it upper higher, you hear it scrubbing a little bit against this shiny black part here. That's where we have this strange sounds. Then the back part, front and the back, and there's also a lumbar support available, which is coming out right here, and you can put it up and down or back here again with the lumbar support. By the way, a small check, you see here on the back side of the seat belt we got this small piece of fabric. That is also good, that you don't have this weird sounds then while driving when the seatbelt holder is moving. That is actually the piece one, maybe some of our fans remember, this piece was missing in the Range Rover. So sometimes even the smallest things are missing in the greatest cars. Welcome to the cockpit, and I can already tell you about the seating position. It's very comfortable because you got this upright seating position as we know here from the SUV. However, you're not sitting too high, so it's a feeling between SUV and a big van, I must say. But overall very comfortable, and I could very well imagine driving a long way with the car. Then let's look at the cockpit. First of all, a general overview. They've really cleaned it up, everything, and I really like this unit with the chrome frame because I love it when design schemes from the outside are repeated here on the inside. And that is done with this chrome frame. And it's also forming one clean unit here. And as well another unit here. And I think this really gives you an orientation where to look at. Here everything for the climate functions, colder and warmer, or the air conditioning on and off. And here, for example, are the vented seats or the heated seats. You see, that's a little bit a pity. It's not possible at the same time, because some cars, then they can put the seat heating and the cooling at the same time. That's actually good when, for example, when you're wet in winter times, when it rained, and then you want to sit down in seats and be warmed, but actually dried at the same time. Not possible here. But overall, also the quality of the buttons here, again, very well done, high quality wise. The screen, well, I think the visual side of the screen, it could be a little bit more modern, I must say. However, turning the knobs and so already feels good again. Let's make the map a little bit bigger, for example, that you can see it here. You see, it's either possible to do it with the knobs. It's good while driving, by the way, or you can also do it here with a touch screen. Let's just see how it reacts. You can either do it like that, but I think it's not possible to. No, you can actually not use like an iPad. That would have been actually quite good. Here you can go to the home menu. These ones, you see, it's this kind of app design here already. Then you can also check the phone. The Bluetooth stream was flawless so far. I connected the iPhone 4 with it, was working quite fast and very well. This is the radio overview here. You also got the digital radio in here in this trim level. It's also always a quiet function. I think the reaction times when I just switch everything around is actually quite good. Let's see if I've got the info or the options here. And I think everything is working kind of fine and also quite intuitionally. I just would have wished a little bit more modern overview of the GPS, but I think that's it. So then let's move on to the steering wheel, and it's getting really hot in here, so I think I would prefer the panoramic glass roof first, because you see it's really huge. First of all, the rear passengers also have a great view outside, and it's not only because sometimes you have either a huge panoramic roof or a movable glass roof. Here you have both. So first of all the glass roof, and then you can also open it, and that's really a great thing. Look at how vast it's opening, almost convertible feeling in here. Really good. And then I also want to show you how it's actually closing again. So first of all you can close the glass, and then you can also close the shade if it's getting too warm actually. And everything else here also feels very good. A nice design here again, by the way, for the lights that I can turn on. All looks premium. Also when you hear the knobs, move the microphone further. You know, we love to pay attention to the details to show you that, because that also adds something again to the quality feeling. Then let's continue here with the steering wheel. It's actually quite compact for such a heavy car. I don't like this hard plastic inside parts here, but the overall surface is quite good, and also the way of steering it is very good. Not too many buttons here around, and again they feel actually quite well again, so I'm satisfied with that one here as well. Then let's move to the middle console. On the lower part you got the automatic gearbox here. I think also a beautifully designed automatic gearbox lever. Everything also working quite good here. And then we got the drive mode here. I'll show you later on Sport, Eco and Normal drive mode what this actually does while driving. And the rear view camera will also show you later. And there's, by the way, for example, a differential lock for the center part that you got in, for example, a 50-50 differentiation front to the rear. You really feel that while driving. It's of course an off-road feature if you get stuck somewhere, and then you can activate it and you really feel the difference then when you push it, because the car is equally moving forward and from the front and the rear. Otherwise it's predominantly front wheel drive, and you feel it that you usually, when you're driving, are more pulled towards the front than pushed from behind. So then let's check at some more details here. By the way, this is, by the way, a cover here in the front for the beverages. And you can also put it out if you want to put something else in here, and you can also adjust how big everything actually is supposed to be. Then here in the front, it's not that you click on it, you have to move it up manually. There's another space for example, for my very famous garage beeper, basement garage. 2x 12 volt entry here in the central part, the aux in for your audio, or just central USB slot here for a USB stick with music or whatever on it. It's also quite practical. And again, how everything is processed here, I'm again very satisfied. Then let's look at the middle part here with the middle console box. You can put this one out here manually, and you see there's actually quite a lot of space, very practical. Not too much space is wasted. I like that actually. And then you can put this one here optionally for whatever smartphone or whatever you want to transport in there. And then there's another space here above for your glass. It's also very soft on the inside, so your glasses are actually protected. And there are just some small room here on each side of the doors. You know that from most of the cars. Not too big here anyway. But then let's just look at the glove box. You see it's not sliding down very slowly. That could have actually been improved, but it's a standard glove box. I think nothing really special to it. What else can we tell you about the interior here? Well, about the surface, especially here in the front, in the dashboard. You see there's a rather soft plastic surface here in the middle. I think it's quite good solution, but because it doesn't look like and it doesn't feel like hard plastic, but still not using leather. And here on the upper part This really looks like leather. I think especially on camera it does look like leather. But it's actually a clever choice because they also got this stitch imitations here, and it's actually also some kind of softer rubber, and I think it looks quite good. And it's a good way to imitate leather without really using one. I'm perfectly fine with that. Let's switch to the rear department again. Good quality feeling when opening the door. It could actually open a little bit further, so you could easily put your children in here, but I think it's quite okay. Let's get inside. There's a door handle on the upside here as well. And you see, as I would be driving, I still got enough of leg space even with long legs. I'm 1.86 in meters. Actually, when the driver is not too tall, he could put it a little bit more in the front even. That would still work actually. Kind of hard plastic cover here on the backside, don't like that too much. Then about the headspace, this one is here now with the panoramic roof. So I still got like very little headspace. It's still quite okay, so you can easily go for the panoramic roof and travel with 4 adults, that's still possible. However, if you got 2 meter tall adults here in the rear compartment, then you should maybe not pick the panoramic roof to save a little bit of the headspace. Then what is else special here in the rear compartment? First of all, we got the same design scheme in the front. For example, here this shiny black structure is carried over, which I really like. Also got here, we got higher equipment here, and that's also possible to heat the rear seats in two levels here. Not thinking about here in summer times, but still. And we also got a beverage holder here in the side part from the rear compartment, also very nice. Very good feature here for children, especially here in the back, is this one here. It's the manual shade you can put up, and that really protects your children. It's perfectly fitting to this rear window here. Then let's check out the rear bench. You see this one here. I'll show you soon what this is for, because this actually flips the rear part of the seat. But what I can show you right now is that we can now in the third generation move the bench forward, and you see it's really going a lot forward here and back again, and there you can readjust. Okay, do I want to have more trunk, or do you want to have more space in the rear compartment? And I think it's quite good. You see it's this 2/3, 1/3 split. By the way, just before I entered Audi, the general position is also very upright here. I don't fall back as I do as in a lot of sedans. So I can really recommend the rear compartment here. Also for adults is a very good travel car here, definitely, especially because you also have this upright seating position here in the rear. Then I can show you what is actually possible here with the seats. First of all, let's move it all the way in the front. And you see it really goes all the way. Really got a lot more space of the luggage compartment here. It's really nice thing. You see this is this 2/3, 1/3 split. I can also slide the single seat just forward here. That is first of all possible. And then when I put this lever here, I can flip the seats, and already from here we can see that we got an even space here to the luggage compartment. We'll soon see there's an even space then here. That's also a quite nice thing. And the last thing in the rear compartment, if I flip it up again, you got in the middle part, you can also, first of all, there can actually be another one sitting here, but then it's also possible to have a beverage holder here on the inside. Here, by the way, is the third seat belt holder. It's hidden here below. And the third seat belt is right here, though it actually would go across here. And here again, there are these ISOFIX icons right here, because the ISOFIX for the child seats, they are hidden right here. And then you can fix your child seats right here. And now the trunk. We got the electric opening here, which is optional. So there it is, huge opening, also quite solid here. Then you see we got a lot of space. First of all, everything is kind of used. There are not some additional covers here, so I think they have really used the space they have here. It's not too deep going in. I will soon show you why. But here in this case, we got the same level then as the seats as they would be flipped. First of all, I can show you the effect when you put the single seat in the front. Then the trunk is kind of longer here if you want to put some longer things in here. But then it's also possible to flip it, and then you got an even space here, and I can also go around. Then you can see how it really looks when it's all flattened out. Like this here. Really a lot of space, and of course this cover here can also be easily removed. That's it kind of already, and then you can actually put it here or here. The two possibilities to put it in, and actually see I just did it with almost one hand. That's actually quite okay then. So you got a lot of space, and that's one of the best sides here of the Kia Sorento. And then what else is hidden below here? And I put our things a little bit more in the front here. See, because it goes deeper in. There's, for example, when you have to change your tire, actually, I can put the car up. And there's also a second part possible to open. Maybe you can put a blanket here in case of emergency or whatever you want to transport and keep tight. And then let's move our stuff even further in the front so you can access everything. So you see there's even more space here. So a kind of clever solution, because we can sort stuff in there that shouldn't be flying around while driving, or that you maybe don't need that often. And then you can have even more space below than here. So clever solutions here, and I think it's very good that we have so much space in here. And this even loading seal here makes it actually easily possible to put the things in here, and also the loading seal is kind of low. And that's one advantage of having rather this van style here, not only the classical SUV style, because then you can easily put your things from here inside the trunk. And it's also, as you see, easy to just sit down here and relax, and maybe having a picnic or something like that. And I always love that in these huge cars when you're able to do that, because that's just a practical and relating thing here. Maybe we should do that right now before we keep on filming, or shall we? No, we won't let you wait. Let's continue. And finally, the cover. I'm not sure if anyone thought about a very good solution, but it's kind of always a bit tricky with these cover. I think also not the best one here. That way we keep it tight. So, and then we got the electric. First of all, if you have it manual, it's quite actually a good solution. You can grab on here with this handle. I think I really like it. But in this case, I don't really need the electric opening. And let's check if the emergency function works. Yeah, in this case, okay, if you're quite strong, but I'm not sure. Maybe if it's a smaller child, if that would still work then. Annoying sound then, but that's of course also some safety reason. And now we can close it electronically. So let's look what's beneath the hood. Autogefühl hydraulic dampers, check. We got them actually, so easy to open. 2.2 liter diesel with 200 horsepower. In Germany it's the only engine available at all for the Kia Sorento. But I think it's quite okay. You don't have to think about the choice then. And I can already tell you now, I'm quite satisfied with it. The consumption could be a little bit lower, but everything else is kind of very good. And how this actually feels like and how the car is feeling in driving, we'll take a look right now with the driving experience here at Autogefühl. So let's start driving the Kia Sorento here in the new generation inside the city, because that's actually what they thought about the car would be driving in. Because I told you before, the car now has less off-road capabilities, less towing capabilities. It's really aimed towards the city, and that you have a lot of space with your family inside the city. And actually I'm quite positive about driving the car, and first of all they have worked on the sound insulation now in the new generation, so it's actually really quite calm in here. And I think it's very good because there's a lot of traffic outside here. You look around, a lot of cars, but don't hear so much on the inside. Of course, there are better cars for that with the sound insulation, but I think it's a very big improvement in comparison to the previous version here. That's so far for standing at the red traffic light, and the seating position is, as we know from bigger SUVs, it's upright, and so it's also very comfortable. So I had no back pain so far here. Of course, these are, as I've told you before, the leather seats. They are included in the premium equipment, the top trim level, which boosts the car to around 50,000 euros then in the top version. But I would recommend you to take the fabric seats because you only sweat on them. We can test the seat cooling, however, then I can soon also tell you how that actually works when you have the leather seats, that you cool down a little bit. But let's now focus on the driving. You've got the 2.2 liter diesel here with 200 horsepower. The sound is actually that rather classical diesel sound, so not a too nice diesel sound, but it's actually quite powerful. So no matter if you are on a normal mode, or you can also pick a so-called sports mode. There are actually normal, eco and sports mode. Eco to save some more fuel to withdraw the throttle input. Sports mode actually increases the throttle input, so I don't have to push the throttle that much down, and already the car accelerates harder. And also the RPMs go higher, and the steering is also different then, So I'm just waiting for the light to switch to green now. So the steering is actually different then, because in the sports mode I get a little bit more resistance than when I'm turning right or left. In the normal mode it's rather without resistance and easy to drive. So sports mode now, I can really push the throttle. No, it's really going forward quite fast. Still a quite heavy vehicle. But I mean, for such a good SUV, I think it's a really good acceleration. And here, for example, in Germany, you don't have any other engine for choice. But I think it's actually okay, because you don't need any other engine for that. Even if you still would be towing something in the back, then the power would still be enough, I think. And even when you're driving with a car full of people. So I'm quite satisfied, basically, with the power of the engine. But the consumption, it is stated with 6.6 liters on 100 kilometers, but you will never reach it. Well, as I'm looking here right now on the consumption meter, the rather realistic choice is about 9 liters on 100 kilometers. That could be actually a little bit less, and I think it's possible, but it's maybe also not the most modern engine than here. So I'm in the sport mode still right now. As I said, when I turn the steering wheel right and left, I get a little bit more of resistance from the steering, and when I switch back to the normal mode, it's actually going easier when I go right and left. And that's, for example, especially important when maneuvering around and when the car is standing still or in the parking lot. And it's actually quite easy as well, because you first of all think, oh, it's quite a huge car, almost 4.80 meters, but it's actually no problem to move it around. That's also important for the city, and also when you don't have too strong arms then when you want to go front and back again with the car. However, it's always a compromise. Maybe is it more rather harder steering? Is it softer steering? So is it maybe too indirect then? And I think I'm also satisfied with that one, because although it's got this electronic support, it doesn't feel really too artificial. I think it's quite okay. So also when I'm doing a lane change here, for example, now I still got enough feeling in the steering wheel that I really know where I'm going to. So it's actually quite okay. It's not the most sporty feeling, but that's also not necessary for such a car we have here. The suspension, however, if the roads are good, no complaints whatsoever. Also on the motorway, you got a quite relaxing drive, because you obviously also want to go longer ways with this car. Maybe the only thing is when there are a row of bumps after each other, not just one, but like 5 or 6, then you really feel it gets a little bit unstable. So I've experienced better suspension in that case, in these special situations. But in general, on the normal roads here in Western Germany, it's quite okay also for suspension. What I was actually quite astonished about is that you got this rather big, heavy, comfortable SUV, and still the suspension is, let's say, rather a little bit stiff. So the suspension-wise, the car feels sportier than it actually is, and that also helps you in the corners. And I think they also thought about it, okay, how can we make the vehicle appear to be driving smaller than it is? And that's actually one way of doing it, because then it's also fun driving it in the city. So I didn't expect it to be kind of fun as for the sporty side of driving, because I mean it's a huge SUV, not the most huge SUV as for the size, because there's still something above it. But at least if you're looking from the interior, then you really get a lot of space, and the car itself also got longer, so it's running a little bit more stable than the predecessor with this 9.5 centimeters longer car. But that's actually also not a problem, because the other driving components were updated, so the car still feels agile enough, I must say. What also helps you in the new generation is that we've talked about in the interior overview, that you get everything kind of cleaned up, so you're not disturbed by anything. And the factor plays again that its car is rather unpretentious, also in comparison to the competitors, so you don't feel anything annoying here. Everything is kind of sorted, and that also makes you relax while driving. And the overall quality impression here is good again. You know, Kia usually also scores some good durability results as of lately. There was a different time in the past where it was rather bad, but meanwhile the modern ones are actually quite good. And you probably also know that they offer a lot of warranty. 7 years, for example, in Germany, and there's this 5 or 10 years mix in the US. So, like for example, 5 years for the engine and 10 years, I think, for the chassis. So you got the mix in warranty there. But overall, they offer a lot more warranty than anyone else. And I mean, if their cars would break down earlier, it would be very expensive for them. So meanwhile, also the vented seats here, they came into effect, and I think they are actually helping quite good. I'm feeling it especially below my legs here. The back part's actually not that kind of active, but that's also quite common with these vented seats, that the leg part is also more active. It is a way, yes, I'm feeling it is quite okay to cool you down on leather seats, but if you have the choice, just leave them out and then don't have this sweating problem at all. But again, we must say they're offering a lot of luxury features here in a price segment where you usually don't find so much luxury features. So that has also generally changed with the Kia model here. Yeah, and let's maybe compare it also from driving to other cars in this segment. Again, the Hyundai Santa Fe is very comparable because they're all set on the same platform still. So you can, if you go for that one or this one here, it's maybe a question of the brand and of the really price that the dealer is offering you, because usually the Kia cars are a little bit cheaper, at least here in Germany. And then, for example, there was the Jeep Grand Cherokee, which is starting in the higher price, but if you then compare the trim levels above that, it will still be a little bit more expensive. But if we just compare the driving there, the Grand Cherokee sits way higher, more feels like this complete off-road car. The Kia Sorento here, just from driving, it feels like a combination of van and big SUV, because you don't sit too high, it's rather a little bit lower in comparison to other competitors, and you have this huge space here on the interior, and also the off-road capabilities shrunk actually. So I think it's a very good thing if you want to maybe transport your family and don't need so much off-road features, and if you also don't appreciate this very soft and high off-road riding, if you rather think, okay, I want more this normal car ride feeling, then you actually ride here with a Kia Sportage, I must say. Then some thoughts also to the driving comparison to other compact SUVs, because we are kind of in the middle between the full-size and the compact SUVs. How can you actually compare that? Yes, you do feel that this car is longer than most of the other compact SUVs, but from driving, it feels kind of similar. So there's not so much difference in that one. So there's still thought about, okay, maybe if you pay for a premium version here about 50,000 euros, should I maybe go for the compact SUV in a premium way or something like that? Because I could also step up a level kind of and go for the Volvo XC60. lose a little bit of space but have a more premium surrounding. That really depends on what kind of space you really need in the car. So this car offers kind of a lot of space for the money already. So these are my thoughts here while driving. Maybe one thing, as we're now on the motorway, we can still test, because we have here also with the premium level the automatic cruise control, and so far as I've tested it works pretty well. Now also let me drive closer to the car in front of me, that we can really see how he holds the distance. Okay, I'm at about 100 kilometers now, holding the car, yes, reducing the speed now. Now I got another car in front of me. Speed should be increased. Yes, I'm just putting my legs back now and can relax. It's actually working quite good, the automatic cruise control. I can always recommend it. It's a good safety feature, especially when you want to control something at the GPS or call someone. Then it's actually okay, set the automatic cruise control, and then okay, what's the next destination on the GPS? Then it's quite okay, because otherwise, you know, in 1 or 2 seconds everything can happen. So very relaxing ride here, mix between SUV and van, I would say, from the driving feeling. And I think overall impression is quite good and solid, unpretentious car, as I've told you before. So let's get finally to our conclusions after some more riding pictures. So, and just one off-road impression here. I've told you before, the capabilities for off-road driving, they actually are not that good anymore, and it's not the main target. But if we go some soft off-road here, it's actually still quite comfortable, although we feel that we're not sitting too high and we have to check out for our ground clearance. Rear view camera. See, this one is also included in the premium version. However, we got Spirit here, but then with some optional equipment. But this one will also be included in the premium version then. The 360-degree round view, main screen, and here we got this fake view from above from the cameras around the car. Then we can also switch the views. For example, if you want to have the rear view camera completely, then we have a side view here on one side, or this view here to the rear, that I don't damage the alloys. That is possible as well. And when I then, for example, switch to the front driving again, you see I got the front camera. And also this front camera can be switched to the different modes, that I can check the alloys here in the front, no matter which side. Actually a quite nice system. You can control everything how you want it and what you actually need in this very second. Let me conclude about the new Kia Sorento in the 3rd generation. First of all, from the exterior, I really love the new front grille and this premium look they've created. I think it really works. The vehicle does look premium from the outside. However, they switched it a little bit to this van style, not so this high SUV style anymore. I don't like that so much personally, just from the out view, but actually from the inside you get even more space, and it's more suitable for the customers, I think, because it's not mainly the off-road car, but more the huge city SUV for the family. From the interior, I really can say really unpretentious. You got a good overview without too much stuff happening here and there, not too much distraction. All of the surfaces, maybe on the dashboard, it wasn't the best quality, let's take it there with that way, but very solid, I must say. And from the knobs and the buttons and so on, it almost got a premium feeling then here. This look and feel was very good. And I think they have really worked on that one, and that works pretty much very well. So I was quite astonished about that actually. Also, when you just look at the inside of the doors, it really looks very good. Then about driving the car, actually the diesel, the only one that is available now, is doing just pretty much fine. It could consume a little bit less, then it would be even better. But the power is always there, and you got a very comfortable feeling due to this upright seating position here. I could very well imagine driving very long ways with that one, especially because there's so much space on the inside. Very beautiful long panoramic roof, also a good seating comfort for the passengers in the rear compartment, even if they are adults. And I've also shown you the versatility of the trunk, so also a good job there. Overall, I think it's a very good package here, because they're kind of between a lot of standards. So they're between the compact and the full-size SUV segment. And they're also in between price-wise, because the car here in Germany starts at 35,000 euros. That's relatively cheap. And then going up to, I think, 45, maximum 50,000 euros. But you don't have to buy one for 50,000 euros. I think about 40,000 you're already quite fine with all the equipment and so on. And for this kind of price, you really have to think about, okay, what else can I get there? You maybe can think about, okay, I'm stepping down size-wise and get a premium compact SUV, but they are sometimes even more expensive already. Then you have really a lot more space with this car. Or you think about, oh, maybe get a little bit extra money and then, for example, go for a Jeep and Cherokee. Or I pick the sister model, the Hyundai Santa Fe, and I think it's rather a brand choice, if you're going for the Kia or for the Hyundai. But still, again, I think it's had a quite unique market position, and that's, I think, a reason why it will still be successful. In Germany, it's not that famous actually, because when people buy the big SUVs, they go for the premium manufacturers, or for example for Volkswagen. But with the new generation here, that can really change, because already from the exterior, it looks really great. And I mean, if you think, people in surveys think, oh, what's the most important factor for a car? For you, they are safety, durability, and so on. But I mean, the real choice when it comes to the end of the day is firstly always design. I mean, for the most of the customers, I think that is already fulfilled with the Kia. And you get this very great warranty package here from Kia. For example, 7 years in Germany, and in the US 5 and 10 years depending on the engine, or if you pick the whole chassis then. So overall, quite convincing package here with the all-new Kia Sorento in the third generation. And so I want to hear your opinion now on the car, on the basic concept, the single features we covered, and also about the pricing in your market, if you're satisfied with that. And especially also when you're already a customer of the Sorento, maybe of the previous version, and think about getting one. So really look forward to your comments. And of course, we are always happy to get your feedback and some thumbs up. That always thrive us a little bit further for all the hard work we put in. Thank you very much from Thomas and from the whole Autogefühl team. And I think we'll also see us at the next Autogefühl episode, won't we? Thanks.